You've refused to read this book because you saw I brought too many people joy. It's okay. I'm going to recap it for you in under 10 minutes. Feyre is a 19-year-old huntress. She's out in the woods. She's looking for a little snacky snack to feed her family. She comes across a wolf staring at a deer. It's a twofer, okay? It's a slay one, get one free. What more could you want? She does hesitate though, because the wolf might be a fairy. You've heard of them, right? Fairies, they're evil creatures that eat humans and they live in Prythian. You know, fairies. If it is a fairy and she kills it, she's gonna be in big trouble. She knows that. But you know how it is when you go to the grocery store hungry. You just come home with things you didn't mean to. It's fine. It's gonna be fine. She's not home 10 minutes before this deranged bear, elk, wolf creature bursts through her door, screeching exposition at her. You broke the treaty. You know, the treaty. Now I have to take you to Prythian and make you my prisoner. Does Feyre ask for receipts? Absolutely not. She doesn't even like it at home. She's low-key excited to get the out of there. This creature takes Feyre to the spring court. There are I think 6 courts or something. They're all named after seasons. And then there's the night court. Okay. This thing settles Feyre into a giant castle in the spring court, and then he transforms into a blonde guy wearing a mask. Wait a minute, he's a kidnapper, but he's 6'4"? His name is Tamlin. He is the High Lord of the spring court. He's like the king, but doesn't it sound better when you say High Lord? The thing you need to know about Tamlin is that he's dead inside. He is one inconvenience away from flinging himself off a bridge. Honestly, same. Even though she's his prisoner, one of the first things they do is bathe her, give her new clothes, and offer her food. You mean you took me from my raggedy shack where I was starving to death to the perpetually spring court where it's like an all-you-can-eat buffet? Yes, thank you. Feyre is treated really nicely by everyone she meets except for Tamlin because he's really grumpy for no reason at all. She learns about the curse that is plaguing the spring court. They call it the Blight. And the Blight is this terrible curse. It's forcing the fairies of the spring court to wear masks. Honestly tragic, to have an aesthetic forced on you like this in the year of our Lord. When did this book come out? 2015. So time passes. Feyre starts warming up to the spring court. She starts to realize the fairies are actually not that bad. They're also really cute. Tamlin starts warming up to Feyre. He shares his love for painting. He shows her his massive library, because if you didn't catch on yet, this story is a retelling of that classical kidnapping tale that we all love, Beauty and the Beast. Goals, am I right? They spend time together. She sees him with his shirt off. What them biceps do, boy. One of the funniest parts in the whole book to me is when Tamlin tells Feyre that Fire Night is happening. Fire Night, all of the fairies from all the different courts come to the spring court. They have this massive party in the woods. And Tamlin is like, listen, fairies usually don't like humans. They usually like to kill humans. So do me a favor, do me a solid, stay in your room. But Feyre finds out that the whole point of Fire Night is that the High Lords get to pick whoever they want to knock the boots with, because that's how magic is regenerated in the world. You didn't know that? That's so weird that you didn't know that. That's common knowledge. So on this very dangerous night, Feyre decides, I'm going to the woods to go check out what's going on. I want to see the party. Also, I volunteer as tribute, right? All of these fine-ass fairies out here looking for booty. Feyre has a close call in the woods. She almost gets in trouble, but she's saved by this beautiful stranger. Put a pin in him. Feyre gets back to the castle unharmed. She runs into Tamlin, who is honestly so horned up. I don't know if it's magic or a substance or what. He goes from being so timid to suddenly pushing her up against the wall, growling in her ear. I love that for her, honestly. At this point, Feyre is all in. She has no interest in going back home. She's in love with Tamlin. Unfortunately, soon after Fire Night, that beautiful stranger that she met, remember him? He strides into the castle, threatening Tamlin with telling the evilest of all the evil fairies, Amarantha, about his human. And it's kind of implied, Amarantha is gonna Feyre, okay? So now Tamlin feels like Feyre is in too much danger. He has to send her home. But before he does, they knock the boots. He is but a man, bear, wolf, elk creature. Come on. So he puts her in a little carriage. You remember that whole treaty that forced me to keep you prisoner? Don't even worry about it. It's fine. He puts her in a carriage. She almost says, I love you. She's this close to telling him that she's in love with him, but she doesn't, because honestly, telling a man you love him in front of witnesses is so embarrassing, right? Feyre goes home for a bit. Her family's doing great because magic, but she remembers that she hates it there. So she goes back to Prythian and she finds the spring court is completely ransacked. The castle is empty. There's no one there. Out pops a random fairy from like a closet or something, and she dumps a bunch of exposition on Farah. This is the tea that Farah needed. The curse, or the blight as they called it, was really just a metaphor for Amarantha, the evilest fairy. Amarantha pulled an Uno reverse card on all the High Lords of Prythian, tricked them into giving her their power, and imprisoned them in her mountain lair. Honestly, what a girl boss. So Amarantha is obsessed with Tamlin, and the only reason Tamlin's court was allowed to be out is because she put a curse on them, and she said the curse could only be broken if Tamlin could find a human girl to say I love you to him and mean it. Amarantha really said, oh, you don't want me? Bet. You're cursed. Forever. So petty, and I love it. Also, Tamlin having like 2 decades to find a human girl to say I love you to him, and he waited until there were only a couple months left. The procrastination there, I relate. Farah is warned to not go to the mountain lair, to not make any deals with Amarantha, to not enter any sort of quid pro, you know. Farah heads down to the mountain lair, obviously, and she finds this Colosseum type structure. All of the fairies from all of the courts are forced to sit in this Colosseum and watch depraved shows that Amarantha puts on, one of which is like torturing a human girl that she thought was Farah, so that's good to know. Amarantha's sitting in a throne. Tamlin, by the way, is sitting beside Amarantha, doing his best to pretend he's never seen Farah before in his life. I don't know who that is, honey. I've never seen her before. Farah's thoughts are like, he's ignoring me because he loves me. You know, he's trying to keep me safe, right? Amarantha tells Farah she's going to give her a chance to save everyone if Farah can complete 3 tasks or solve a riddle. Now I'm going to put the riddle up. You're going to have to pause to read. It is unhinged. Amarantha is like on her Edgar Allan Poe. Farah only gets 1 chance to solve the riddle. If she doesn't solve it in her first try, she loses. So of course she's like, you know what, I'm gonna think about it for a minute. Let's do these tasks in the meanwhile. So Farah gets imprisoned. She's awaiting her first trial. Farah's first task is to slay a giant worm, which is like not hard to do because worms are apparently not that smart even when they're really big. But Farah gets really injured in the process. She gets thrown back in her cell, covered in worm manure. She spends days really unhygienically stewing in all that funk. She starts getting sick. She has an infection, obviously. She's pretty much losing consciousness when she gets a visitor. It must be her boyfriend, right? Like it's her boyfriend. It's not. Beautiful stranger comes in. His name is Rhysand. He is the High Lord of the Night Court. You know that court that's not like a silly season like the other courts? It's actually darkness. Get it? Because he's a bad boy. So Rhysand comes in and he heals her for absolutely nothing in return. Just kidding. He coerces her in her moment of weakness as she's losing consciousness to agree to spend 1 week a month for the rest of her life with him. And the fact that Farah is dying and she still has to think about it is honestly so offensive. Like if I was Rhysand, I would be like, you know what? Never mind. So Farah agrees, and then she gets like this magical tattoo. She gets a magical sleeve up her arm, and also she gets like magical douche. She gets cleaned magically. Really great. I love that for her too. Part of the deal that she makes with Rhysand is he paints her gold, dresses her up really seductively, gets her drunk, and then parades her around in front of all of the courts, including Tamlin, who's just sitting there doing nothing like the beta male he is. Farah supposedly blacks out when she drinks and she doesn't realize that she spends the night twerking on Rhysand. Okay, Farah. Okay, sure. Farah's second task puts Tamlin's BFF in danger, and Farah really cares about him for some reason. This task requires this tiny skill that Farah does not possess, which is the skill of reading. So the tattoo that Farah has from Rhysand is magical, duh. So Rhysand is able to magically communicate with her and guide her arm to the right answer. So Farah saves Tamlin's BFF. We have another month of Farah waiting for her next task. She is paraded in front of the courts, painted gold, twerking on Rhysand, you know, the usual. The third task comes along. Farah is required to impale 3 innocent fairies in the heart. First two, no problem. Like no questions asked. The third fairy is none other than Tamlin. And of course, that's like hard. Other innocent people, easy. My boyfriend, difficult. So Feyre tries to think her way out of it, and then she realizes Amarantha is not going to have me kill Tamlin because she's thirsty for him. Also, I remember this random obscure conversation that I overheard where Tamlin may or may not have a stone heart. The fact that Feyre doesn't know this for sure, but is like, if he dies, he dies. I love that. Feyre goes ahead and impales Tamlin, and there's a clink because his heart is made of stone. That was the biggest plot twist because he honestly seemed so emotionally available. I could never have guessed. So Feyre completed all 3 tasks. Everyone's free. Hooray. Except no. Amarantha's like, there was actually a really obscure technicality in our agreement that you totally overlooked, and I'm going to exploit it now. So no one's free. Everything's the same. Also, I'm going to beat your ass. And that's what Amarantha does. She comes over. She beats Feyre to a pulp. It's bad. Everyone watches on. When Feyre is within an inch of her life, she yells out the answer to the riddle that just came to her head. It's love. It's always love. Answering the riddle immediately breaks the curse. Tamlin and Rhysand slay Amarantha. However, Feyre is done. She's done. And there's like 10 pages left in the book, and I'm like, well, I wasn't that attached to her, to be honest with you. All of the fairies from the courts gather around Feyre and they bring her back to life, and they turn her into a fairy. So now she's immortal, and that's amazing because now her and Tamlin get to live happily ever after, except for that deal that she made with Tamlin's arch nemesis to spend a week of every month with him for the rest of her life, which is now forever. There's going to be so much drama in the next book, which I haven't read. We recapped this book at Fiction Fixation really thoroughly. It took us like 2 episodes to do it. Check it out if you want to hear a more detailed breakdown. Okay, bye.